Hello everybody, my name is Luke Anderson. This is going to be my informative speech for speech class. The topic of my speech is going to be how to invest and the importance of doing so when you are young. So let's dive right into it. I want to start off by posing a question. Did you guys know that 56% of Americans feel that they are behind in retirement savings? And whether or not you've heard that exact statistic or not, I'm sure everyone has at least heard once that they need to start thinking about retirement. Of course, I remember when I got my first job when I was 16, I started hearing that exact advice too, that I need to start saving money, investing it, and giving it time to grow so I could have a good retirement. Of course, I didn't really listen to that advice because I was in high school, but that was some of the best advice someone could give me at the time. So in this speech, I'm going to talk about what is investing, how to invest, and the importance of doing so when we're young. So jumping into it, what is investing? According to a Forbes article written in 2022, it states, investing is the process by buying assets that increase in value over time and provide returns in the form of income payments or capital gains. So in today's world, there's many different vehicles for investing. There's stock brokerage accounts, 401ks, IRAs, or real estate. Of course, those are some of the most common ones that we're going to be talking about in this speech, but there's hundreds of them. And essentially, they're all just vehicles for where you can put your money into these assets and the value of these things goes up in time, or at least it doesn't lose value. So now that we have a baseline understanding for what investing is, we can talk about how to invest. However, I just want to clear up one misconception about investing, which is investing is for rich people and you need to have a lot of money to start investing, that statement is just completely false. It's not for rich people. Anyone can start investing and you do not need a lot of money to start. So now that that's cleared up, let's talk about some of the simplest forms of investing, which could be a 401k from an employer, maybe an IRA or an individual retirement account, a stock brokerage account, or maybe even real estate. Out of all these vehicles for investing, I think for young people, one of the simplest they can understand is an IRA. An IRA is a tax advantage account. They have not many restrictions to get into. As long as you are 18 years old, are an American citizen and have some money to contribute into it, you can open an IRA. So IRAs, of course, they're tax advantages, a tax advantage account, which means that they have tax benefits, such as when you're ready to pull all your money out when you're retiring, when you have $1 million in there, hypothetically, you don't pay any tax on that money you pull out. In a non-tax advantage account, you would have to pay, say, a 20% tax, for example. That's what like a tax advantage account is. So in today's IRAs, you can contribute $7,000 annually into that account. And in that account, you can buy assets like stocks or ETFs. That's kind of the gist on an IRA. So going to a 401k, which is typically offered by an employer, this is a tax advantage account as well. And in these, the owner of the account elects to contribute a certain amount of their salary to the 401k, and typically the employer will match what the owner contributes up to a certain percentage, say 4 to 6%. 401ks typically right now have a $23,000 annual contribution limit from the owner. It could go more with the match. And within 401ks, you can also buy stocks and ETFs that can go up in value. Then let's talk about brokerage accounts or stock portfolios. Stock portfolios are kind of what you think of when you think of the stock market. They are not tax advantage accounts. So with a brokerage account, you're going to be paying taxes on everything, but there's a lot less restrictions. You can put however much money you want into it, whatever time you want. You can just drop $100,000, for example, into it at a time, and you can pull it all out at the same time. Also, you can pull all your money out before retirement. That's kind of the thing about brokerage accounts. But with brokerage accounts, you can obviously buy stocks and ETFs in them. Moving on to the last vehicle for investments that I'm going to talk about, it's going to be real estate. Real estate is going to be the most challenging to get into. You're going to need the most capital to get into it because real estate's expensive. But real estate does go up in value, and it's been a tried and true investment vehicle for Americans for decades. However, it does have some challenges, such as you have to pay property tax and manage the property. So those are the investment vehicles I'm going to talk about. Now let's talk about the why question. Why is investing so important for young people? And it all goes back to the notion that the sooner you put your money in to start investing, the more time your money has to start gaining compounded interest. According to a Yahoo Finance article written in 2024 by a man named Ryan Downey, he states a good quote that I'm going to share from Albert Einstein, which states, "Compounded interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it." So compounded interest goes back to the idea that money makes money. And that's why people say money makes money. It's because of compounded interest. It's because when your money makes money, your money can make more money. And it's kind of just an endless cycle of the more money you have, the more money you can make. So it's just kind of think of a trendy line that just goes up. So an example of this comes from another Forbes article where they pose a scenario. Say you have $1,000 in a savings account that gets 5% interest every year. And after 30 years, that savings account is going to be over $4,300 without making any additional contributions. That's kind of a very simple breakdown of what compound interest can do. Over 30 years, that $1,000 will turn into $4,300. That's a very basic example. A more practical example people will use, say for example, someone's going to open a brokerage account with $1,000 and they're going to elect to contribute $400 a month to this account for 30 years. And in this account, the portfolio is going to return an average of 10% annually, which is in line with the overall S&P 500's return of 10.26%, which that statistic comes from an Investopedia article written in 2024. And at the end of that 30 years for that account, that $1,000 and your $400 contribution will be well over $900,000. Furthermore, what makes this number special is that only $145,000 is what the owner contributed. Over $700,000 is from capital gains appreciation. That's a very conservative example. If you upped it to $500 a month, the return after 30 years will be over 1.15 million. Considering the conservative example of 900,000, say when that person wanted to retire at 59.5 and they follow the 4% rule, where they withdraw 4% of their retirement nest egg every year, they can withdraw $36,000 on top of their Social Security benefit for 25 years, and that'll put them at 84 years old, which is well over the average lifespan for an American. That's kind of the magic of compounded interest, okay? So overall, investing is definitely not something young people should overlook. It's a very powerful tool that anyone in this country can use. Investing is not as complicated as people perceive it to be. The true magic of investing comes from compounded interest, and compounded interest magic comes from having the time. It works best when there's more time, and who has more time? It's going to be young people. So of course, before someone writes off investing and kicks it down the line for later when they're older, they should really think to themselves that they're wasting the best asset that they have, which is time. So that's going to conclude my presentation on investing and why it's important. Thank you for your time, and have a good rest of your day or night. Thank you.